Okay, good morning everybody. Good morning everybody. Good morning everybody. Are we out there? Hooray. Thank you. Welcome back. For those of you just hanging around at the back, if you want to come in, there's plenty of seats at the front. So, quick show of hands. How many of you were at the Sustainable Seafood Experience last night? About a third of you. Well, those of you who weren't, you missed out. And it's not being done again. For those of you who were there, wasn't it fantastic? Not only was it great food and nice drink, but also the ambition of the Marina Bay Sands. What about that? By 2020, 2 million kilograms of seafood to be sourced sustainably. That's fantastic, exemplifying not only SDG 17, which of course is about partnerships, with partnership with WWF and the Malaysian fish farmers, but also SDG 14, of course, life on water, life underwater, SDG 1, SDG 2, and SDG 12. So fantastic interconnections, which we've been talking about. Now, yesterday, as you know, it all got a bit busy towards the end of the day, so I didn't get a chance to do a wrap-up. So I thought I'd give you a really quick summary of what I thought I heard yesterday. There were a few key takeaways. The first, as we just discussed, there were numerous discussions around the interconnections. Yesterday, I think most of the interconnections I was hearing was between SDG 5 and gender and other goals, and SDG 10 and inequality and other goals. Does anybody know, as a matter of interest, quick show of hands, does anybody know which SDG, which goal, according to the UN, links with the most other goals? I know you do, Louise. Anybody else? Hazard a guess? Apart from 17, which of course sits across them all. It's 12. 12 has the most other linkages, according to the UN. Sustainable consumption and production. Right, we also talked a lot about metrics. In fact, we talked more about metrics yesterday than I heard in the same discussion last year, which is sort of interesting because it means that people are sort of moving on to think about how do I measure this stuff. But we also heard that measuring the right things was really important and ensuring that we're measuring things relevant to the context of the activity. And again, that's really important. That came through quite a lot in the feedback sessions. We heard from a number of the speakers there does not need to be a conflict between making a profit and following a sustainable development agenda. So I think we all agree with that. Certainly the business people in the room get it and understand it. We all need to understand it's okay to make a profit if we're doing it in a sustainable way. And then the last thing I picked up, which you all know what I'm going to say, is the P word. Partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. Everybody was talking about it. But we were also challenged to think about uncommon partnerships, particularly partnerships with your competitors in a pre-competitive space. Now, yesterday during one of the panel sessions, I got a question. Thank you very much, somebody, for asking me a question. That was nice. And I was asked a question. I've challenged companies to think about the SDGs at a national level because it's governments that will achieve the goals. And the question came in and said, if you're a multinational business, how would you do that? How can you understand what are the goals, the priorities for a particular country? Well, there are two things I would say. The first is that, as I said to you yesterday, a number of countries have already gone and done their voluntary national reviews. All those are on the UN website. Just Google UN Voluntary National Review, and you go to a website which has all the countries who've done a review in 16 and 17, and the ones who are planning on doing one in 18, and all the documents that they presented are on that website, so you can actually go and see them all. So you can see what the country was talking about and what they were presenting. But on top of that, we recognized this was going to be a bit of a problem. About 3 years ago, we actually said, that's a huge exercise to work out how each country is doing on these goals. And so we built our own database. We had a team spending months looking at all the available data on countries on what you might call indicators. We found 240 global indicators that countries are reporting on from places like the WHO, the UN, the World Bank, the ILO, all sorts of different organizations who are getting data on countries. We put all that into a huge, great database. and through some clever algorithms and some clever bits of maths, we were able to link all those indicators to all the targets and to all the goals. So we can tell you, for any target, how every country is doing relative to every other country in the world at the target level. You can imagine it is a thumping great database, but what we have done, and I'm going to show you, so if you'll get your phones out, we have put the headlines of that report online, so you can play around with it yourself. And we're going to try something very clever here with this camera. So if you go into your phone, and you just Google, or on your browser, just put in PwC SDG Selector. S-E-L-E-C-T-O-R. PwC SDG Selector. And hopefully you'll come up right at the top with a link. Click on the link, and you should come up with something that looks like, can we get the camera going? Looks like this. There we are. Can you see that? All got that? Are we doing well? Put your phone up in the air if you've got it, then I can see. Turn it towards me and I can see the light. Yay, brilliant. I feel like Coldplay at a concert. Right, and then if you click on the country, and you get the little screen at the bottom and you can zoom down. If you'll just zoom down to Singapore, because that's quite interesting, because that's where we are. And you can get to Singapore, here we go, Singapore. And click on it, and you will find that 5 goals come up. Are we doing, there you go, 5 goals. Those are the 5 goals for Singapore that Singapore is doing worst on relative to every other country in the world. It doesn't mean they're doing badly on them. It is relative to every other country in the world. These are the ones they are doing worst on. So to answer your question, whoever asked it, I hope that answers it. You can do that. Okay? Now, if you're interested, you can then click on the number 2. I just clicked on Zero Hunger, and you get a little piece on why this is important to business. Yeah. And then where that little one in the middle, it says want to know more. If you click on that, you get a whole load of information on our website about why this is important to business, etc., etc. Ooh, don't want that. And then if you go down a bit further, you will see off those databases all the information, the hard data that is driving this database for that particular target. Okay, so you can see the indicators we've used and how every country in the world has scored against that indicator. And it's those indicators that are driving the scores. That is a goldmine of information. You don't want to know how many man-years of work it took for us to get it, and it is open source for all of you to use. So I hope that answers that question. And I hope that was slightly interesting. Right. It's going to be another action-packed day. It's going to be very busy. We've got our last 6 SDG workshops, feedback from then, and feedback on the whole event. Again, I ask you to pay attention, participate, share, learn, and let's make some new and unlikely or uncommon collaborations or contacts. In the original agenda, we were going to have Hakima El Hait come and join us. Unfortunately, she's not been able to get out from Morocco, and so we're having to skip that session, and we're going to go straight on to our first panel session of the day to talk about national progress and regional coordination to accelerate the SDGs. The session is going to be moderated by Nick Sekram, who you met yesterday, so needs no introduction. Nick, I'll hand the stage to you, sir.